Okay, from today onwards, we'll be starting Sqoop. Okay, so Sqoop is nothing but a Hadoop ecosystem which was provided to import and export the data from and to relational databases. That was the flexibility, or that was the work which was given by the Sqoop. So first of all, how Sqoop was derived? Okay, it was derived from SQL plus Hadoop. Okay, so if you see, SQ was taken from here, okay, and OOP was taken from here, and that's how the word came, or the name came into picture, that is Sqoop. Okay, so what is Sqoop? It is a tool. Simply, it's a ecosystem. Okay, it's nothing but it is a tool. Okay, it is a tool used for data transfer between RDBMS. Okay, you can say between RDBMS and the RDBMS would be like Oracle, okay, SQL Server, then MySQL, etc. Okay, so what is Sqoop? Sqoop is a tool which is used for data transfer, okay, from my relational database to Hadoop file system, or you can say to Hadoop. Okay, in Hadoop, uh, where we can import the data, I can import the data directly to my Hive. Okay, first of all, I can directly import the data to my HDFS, which is nothing but my Hadoop distributed file system. Secondly, I can import the data to my Hive. Okay, also I can import the data to my HBase as a NoSQL database also, and also few other things, but majorly we'll see HDFS Hive. Okay, so what is Sqoop? Sqoop is a tool which is used for data transfer from your RDBMS to Hadoop. Okay, so when you are doing RDBMS to Hadoop, the data transfer term is called import, which means we are importing the data from here and dumping the data over here. So that is called Sqoop import. And what is Sqoop export? We are picking the data from here and dumping the data over here. So that is called Sqoop export. Okay, so just couple of things, not more than that. So the second thing would be, as I told you, it is used to import and export data. So it is used to import and export data from, so I can say like it is used to import data from your RDBMS to Hadoop, okay, and export data from Hadoop to RDBMS. This is what the functionality of Sqoop is. Okay, it's just simply trying to import and export the data from one place to the other place. Okay, now why Sqoop came into picture? So that was the question. Okay, so why Sqoop came into picture? If you see, in Hadoop 1.x, we needed to write a MapReduce program to achieve certain things. Okay, so what was happening is, to achieve any operations or to achieve any things, we needed to write a lengthy code or a long lines of code using a programming paradigm. Okay, and many developers were not accustomed or not comfortable to write so lengthy line of codes using a programming paradigm. Okay, so people were facing some challenges to even to do such a simple word count program. We needed to write a lengthy 60 to 70 lines of code. Okay, so we needed to write a lengthy 60 to 70 lines of code. So to overcome that, what Facebook did is, okay, so Facebook invented, what they did is, Facebook invented this, and they started, I think not Facebook. So not Facebook. So Facebook has like invented the hype features of Sqoop. Yeah, that is fine. And yeah, so why Sqoop is used, or why Sqoop came into picture, or let's say I think that was like hype, so I was just confused over there. So let me come back to my explanation. So why Sqoop is used. Okay, so if there comes a scenario wherein you need to switch where you need to import the data from one place to the other place. Okay, so we needed to write a lengthy map reduce program. Okay, and the Hadoop developers were not accustomed or not comfortable, or not Hadoop developers, we can say resources were not available who are mainly equipped with uh, the programming paradigm. Okay, so what was done, they created a wrapper on top of Hadoop which is called Sqoop. So when you write Sqoop commands, so when the Sqoop commands will get executed internally, it will convert that command. Okay, whatever the command or the code you are writing, that will get converted into MapReduce program, and it will do the all the processing and computing, and it will give you the result. So the developers life came easy when we needed to import and export the data from relational databases to Hadoop, and Hadoop to relational databases. So people who are not facing the challenges of writing lengthy codes of doing data transfers. Okay, so big data developers start once the data is in Hadoop system in HDFS. Okay, so they do their magical stuff when the data is in Hadoop. Okay, so what used to happen earlier is, before Sqoop, developers, as I told you, before Sqoop, what developers used to do? Developers used to write lengthy line of codes to achieve to achieve uh, let's say import and export data between Hadoop and RDBMS. So what people used to do? People used to write a very lengthy line of codes. Okay, so that was becoming a challenge. Okay, so when it was becoming a challenge, so then Sqoop came into picture as a wrapper on top of Hadoop, and whatever code you are writing on Sqoop, so Sqoop uses internally MapReduce program. Okay, what it does, internally it uses MapReduce program for its operation, you can say, to get the work done. So what is the work? The work is nothing but import or export. Okay, internally it was converting a MapReduce program to get the work done, and the life became easy for the developers. Okay, and one more thing is, in Sqoop, we do not need to mention the source and target. The rest of the work will be done by the Sqoop tool. So source and target, like how we specify explicitly, but yes, at some places we need to provide, because if we don't need to go with the default options at that moment of time, okay, we need to do. Okay, so why Sqoop? If we want to perform, okay, if we want to perform if we want to perform import or export, we can go for a tool, or we can go for a ecosystem which is called Sqoop. Okay, as I told you, it was derived from Mysql plus Hadoop as a combination. So SQ was taken from here and OOP, and hence the word was derived Sqoop. Okay, so that is nothing but your Sqoop. Now in which so why Sqoop is used, we got to know. Okay, so what features Sqoop provided, or what facilities Sqoop provided. Okay, so features, we can say, I think someone is not on mute, I guess. Okay, let's try to see. what are the features of Sqoop? So like what we predominantly do in project is, okay, either we try to do a full load from my Oracle database or Terra database and dump the data into my HDFS file system. That is the one thing which we do. Then CDC. CDC is nothing but the change data capture, or you can say incremental load. Okay, so if I need to capture my incremental load, I can do that with my Sqoop. Sqoop is very helpful and powerful to perform my parallel import and export. How? Because internally when the Sqoop commands or the Sqoop code converted to MapReduce program, it uses MapReduce parallel processing design to do the parallel processing. Okay, it inherits the parallel processing from MapReduce. So that is what we can perform. Okay, we can import the results from SQL query. Okay, we can do compressions. Okay, we'll try to see the compressions like bzip2 codec and gzip. Okay, once we move ahead. Okay, and it also gives the flexibility to load data directly to my Hive and HBase also. Okay, it gives me a flexibility to load data directly to Hive and HBase, and also it can interact with most of the relational databases. Okay, so it has connectors to most of the RDBMS. Okay, just to name a few popular like Oracle, SQL Server, Teradata, MySQL, Postgres, and so on. Okay, so we'll try to see all these functionalities once we start hands-on. Okay, so here I'm just trying to explain a little theoretical stuff so that we know what is Sqoop. Okay, just to see a pictorial diagram of my Sqoop, let's take, this is nothing but my RDBMS. What is this? This is my RDBMS, and this RDBMS may be Oracle, maybe Teradata, maybe MySQL, or etc, etc. Okay, and here I have an arena that is nothing but my HDFS. Okay, so let's take an example. Here I can dump the data into HDFS. I can dump the data to my Hive table. I can dump the data to my NoSQL databases. Okay, now how that can be performed? There is a Hadoop ecosystem tool which was provided to us, and that is nothing but a tool which is called Sqoop. Okay, so these is nothing but your RDBMS. Okay, this is nothing but your Hadoop area. Okay, and this is nothing but your Hadoop, one of the ecosystem provided by Hadoop, or a wrapper provided on Hadoop, which is nothing but a Sqoop. Okay, so in Sqoop, what I can do couple of things. And what are those couple of things? Predominantly we know that those things now, that is nothing but import and export. So let's say this is one thing and the other thing is something. Okay, so let's say if I want to do import, okay, let's say if I want to do import, so how it could be done? So it is nothing but, so if I'm trying to do import, it is nothing but a feature, you can say a feature, okay, from your RDBMS. Okay, so what it will do, import means when the Sqoop is importing the data, it will pick the data from your RDBMS and load the data into Hadoop. Okay, so that is nothing but your import. Okay, and what does export means? Export is vice versa of it. Okay, so what is vice versa of it? It means that when I'm trying to do export, it will pick the data from my Hadoop, okay, and it will dump the data to my to my RDBMS. Okay, so this is just a small diagram of my import and export, sorry, a small diagram of my scoop. Okay, just a good to know knowledge kind of thing. Okay, any questions in this theoretical stuff? That is sufficient. Yes, no? Okay, okay. Okay, so I have already given this document on your respective email IDs. Okay, just go through that document, or maybe once we switch to the screen, we'll try to show you. Okay, so before that, so we know how to open our Hadoop terminals. Okay, the edge nodes. Okay, so I have just opened 3 terminals. It's your call. You can play in one terminal also, whichever mode you are comfortable with it. Okay, so here, let's say, ideally I'll be playing with my RDBMS, and which is nothing but MySQL in our practice purpose, and the second thing is Sqoop. Okay, so what I am doing is, if I want to check my files, so I'll be predominantly using my first screen. Okay, so that's how I am playing with my screens. It's your call how you want to play with your screens. Okay, second screen, that is nothing but my edge node, so I'm keeping to execute all my scoop commands. Okay, that is what I'm trying to do. Okay, and the third screen, or maybe the second screen, what I can do is I can use for database. Okay, let me use the database. Okay, now how we will log into MySQL database. Okay, so I think in the first session I've already shown, but the command would be MySQL -u, which is nothing but the username, which is the root, -p, which is the password, which is nothing but my Cloudera. Let me go to the screen. MySQL -uroot -p Cloudera. Once you hit enter, we get into a database which is nothing but MySQL. Once you get into this database, I hope we know little bit of SQL commands. Okay, so what I would be doing is I would be executing a small command that is nothing but show databases. Okay, so what I'm executing, I'm executing a show databases. I'll be able to see few databases. Okay, so for our practice purpose, I'll be making use of this database, which is nothing but my retail database. If I need to use this database, I can simply write a small command, use, and my database name. Okay, so few basic things I'm trying to show. Okay, let's hit enter. If you see, it is telling me database changed. Now under this database, if I need to see any tables, there is one small command which says show tables. Okay, we'll try to see the tables. Okay, so for you, it will be only these tables like categories, customers, orders, products, and order items. Okay, so these are the tables which we'll be creating once we move on with the practice. For you, there will be only 6 tables. Okay, so quickly I'll reiterate how to connect. You need to enter MySQL, username is root, the password is Cloudera. Okay, once we are into the database, you can say show databases. You can see all the databases which are available. For our practice purpose, we'll be making use of this database. So use retail_db, and to see the table, there is a small command which say show tables. Okay, so we'll be having 6 tables, and moving ahead, we'll try to create more tables. Okay, so these are the few commands which we'll be using frequently, and don't worry. So as today is the first day, so slowly you will get a hang of these things. Okay, now I'll try to show you few commands maybe 2-3 commands on Sqoop, and then I'll switch on to someone's screen. Okay, so few things, how to write the commands, how to do the things, and once we got to know, so we'll try to do. Okay, now let's say I'll come to my third screen where I would be executing my Sqoop commands. Okay,
Chef, I have one doubt.
yes.
How can I add more terminal?
Okay,
Means what option?
how can you add more terminal? Just right click on the white space and top, and you can say duplicate session. So once you
Okay,
have duplicate session, you can enter the credentials and new sessions will be created.
okay, thank you.
Okay, okay. So what I was telling is, what I was starting is, let me explain 2-3 commands, okay, and then hit back to any of the any of the persons. Okay, so let's see basic commands. Okay, so I think we have basic commands over here. So if you see, the first command is scoop version. Okay, it's pretty simple command. Okay, so let me just show you. This is not what I would be showing, but again, let's quickly see that. Okay, so the command is nothing but simple scoop version. Good to know knowledge, nothing more than this. Okay, if you see, we are using a version called 1.4.6 in the Cloudera VM 5.8.0. Okay, so that is fine, good, no issues. Now let's see how to execute commands in Sqoop. Okay, there is a certain syntax which we will need to follow. Okay, let's see that. So it's our choice how we can execute the commands. Either I can write the Sqoop commands in one line itself, or I can write in multiple lines. Okay, so what I'll show you both the ways. So Sqoop command can be executed in two ways. Okay, depending on your comfortable zone. Okay, so the first method, let's try to see the first method. Okay, so this is my first method. So the method is, we will be writing Sqoop. Okay, we are trying to do Sqoop, so we are trying to write Sqoop. What argument we are trying to write? We are trying to perform list databases. Okay, what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to do list databases. Then there is an argument called hyphen hyphen connect. So we are trying to connect with Jdbc connection. Okay, we are trying to connect with Jdbc connection to Mysql database. Okay, on my localhost machine. Okay, and the port number for this MySQL database is 3306 by default. If we know, the default port for Oracle is 1521. Same way, if you know now, like how we went to the name node in WebUI, like 50070, so that is the port. In the first session, I showed you how to connect to U, which is nothing but Hadoop user experience, okay, in the web UI with a port called 8888, if I am able to recall rightly. Okay, the same way we have a port 3306. Okay, don't worry, you will get this syntaxes slowly and slowly. So how then after that there will be username. What is the username? Root. Then what is the password? The password is Cloudera. So this is how you will construct your commands. I'm trying to do Sqoop. In Sqoop, what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to do list databases. I'm trying to connect with my Jdbc connection to MySQL database on my local machine. Either you can give IP address or you can type localhost with the port 3306, with this username and with this password. Let me copy this. Let me come to my terminal and let's hit enter. Okay, so this is getting executed. Can you see few databases are being shown over here? If you go over here in my MySQL, show databases. Okay, can you see the same thing from over here, information schema and so on? I can see that. I'll not be able to see in a proper tabular format, but there is a way. I'll show you. But yes, we are able to see all the databases. Okay, so the same command I can write in another way also. What is the way? So that is the second way. Okay, it's your call. So what is the syntax? Scoop, okay, list databases. If I need to write my command in multiple lines, I need to eradicate my line feeder, which is nothing but the new line. I need to escape that. So that is done with my backslash symbol. Then I am trying to connect. Okay, I am trying to connect with my Jdbc connection to MySQL database on my local host with a port called 3306. Then the username is root and the password is Cloudera. Same command I have broken into multiple steps or multiple lines. Sorry. Let me clear the screen. Hit enter. Okay, so it is telling that there is some issue in this. Okay, so scoop list databases. There is a typo error. So it is always recommended use the notepad. Otherwise, what you'll have to do, again you need to type the command. So what we can do, I'll just change the syntax over here. Let me copy this. Sometimes what happens is when we make some errors or when we just do some mistake in the code, it does not prompt you the exact syntaxes. Sometimes it will try to give you a suggestion, but sometimes it will not try to give you suggestion. At that time we need to re-evaluate the entire scoop command. Okay, so here it gave me a suggestion and I quickly recognized I made a typo error. So I changed that, copied it again, clear off the screen, hit enter. So now this should get working and I should see the same result. Okay, any questions in how to execute a scoop command as of now? Just a basic introduction.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Actually, how to identify JDBC localhost?
This is by default syntax. If you see this syntax, so this is a by default syntax which is provided. Okay, now let's take an example. In place of MySQL, you would have Oracle, right? You would
Yes,
have
yes.
Teradata. You would have Postgres. So you will be mentioning that over here. In place of local host, you would be providing, if your Oracle database is in your local machine, so either you can provide your IP address or local host. But if it is available at remote, so you need to provide the exact host name which will be given by the client. Okay, and this port number will always be the same for any database. So for MySQL it will be 3306, for Oracle it will be 1521. Okay, so for Redshift it would be 5439 and so on. So this is the syntax which we will to build in a similar fashion. Only these three parts or these three arguments will be getting changed from databases to databases. Got it?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions?
Sir,
Yeah.
do we add connect username and password each and every time when we execute this command?
As
Or
of now, we are starting with the sessions. So yes, we are trying to give every time, but what we will be doing is moving ahead. We would be creating a password file, and from that password file we will be picking our username and password. Okay, as of now it's just like introduction, so we'll use with the hard coded method.
Yes, sir. To command the MySQL, do we have any graphical GUI tool something? Or just in the real time, we'll just use cookie.
Mostly, see, it's like talking about the project work, mostly we play with the black screens.
Okay.
Very rarely we go to the web UIs. Mostly in the cases of like you or Ambari, sometimes we go, otherwise 97 to 98% we will be playing in the black screen or the Eclipse or Scala ID most of the time. That's how we do. Like,
Okay. Okay.
so
And
get familiar with this black screen as much as you can.
yeah, sure. And also, if I want to run multiple lines of this Linux, and then if I want to debug,
Yes, yes. So that's what. So moving ahead, I will try to show a simple. So now this scoop commands. So we'll try to embed all the scoop commands in a shell script, and we'll try to call that shell script. So in that script, whatever the scoop commands, hive commands, spark commands are there, they will be getting executed sequentially. So that's how the job gets processed in projects.
no, I mentioned that point. I'm talking about the Linux commands.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
you can execute your Linux command here. So let's say ls-ltr. Can you come back with your question? What you are asking, like Linux command?
so in the Linux commands, if I want to validate, and then isn't that I want to write something, some 50 lines of Linux code for my task.
Yeah, yeah. So means you want to write some script, you want to say?
Yes, if I want to write some 50 lines of Linux code,
Mm-hmm.
how can I write and then how can I debug that?
Okay. See, you are trying to write Linux code. Linux code is nothing but your shell script, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you are writing a script and if you are trying to debug, there is a command like sh and hyphen x, or you can go with the verbose method also.
Okay.
So when you try to execute this, okay, so whatever is written in your script or your 50 lines of code, it will give you your code, and for every line of code what is the output also, so you can debug your code also.
Okay, sure. Got it.
Got it? So if you just let me, I have one script, I think, so that is, I don't know, do I have anything called project? Templates, videos, workspace. Let me go to local file system. Yeah, I can see that project one, sorry, cd project one. Okay, ls otsh.sh. Okay, so if you see, there are a couple of scripts over here, okay, so which I have written for the project. Okay, so
Okay.
sh hyphen x, and let me just execute this. See, it is giving me all my commands. Okay, and it is giving me the output of that also. See, I've just written an echo, so it has given me the customer also, input file separator, etc., etc.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's how we can do. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Any questions apart from that? So can we quickly execute these two commands on your respective systems? Or let me finish, because I think we are almost close to the ending time. Let me explain you, means, can you quickly, if, are our machines open? So I'll take someone's access from tomorrow onwards, because we are at very basic level.
So if I tried this,
Yeah, can you hide it? Yeah.
so this is the command.
Scoop
Scoop
list
list
databases hyphen
database.
connect Jdbc MySQL localhost username is root and the password is Cloudera. Looks good. Okay. What is the issue? Okay, you have missed. If you see list after list, we need to specify hyphen. So you have given a space. Yeah, just give hyphen. Yeah. No, no, no. There should not be any space. The argument is in one go. Yeah. Can you copy the entire command now? Can you hit enter? So can everyone try these two commands on their respective machine if they have opened? Okay. So today we'll just try to test whether the commands are working or not.
Yeah.
It's working? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Can you stop the screen share? I'll just stop the recording. Okay. Now, if we are not sure about the syntaxes, so what we can do is we can just write scoop help and the command name. So that is nothing but list databases, and let's try to hit enter. Okay. So if you see for this command, it will try to tell me, okay, what are the arguments. See, can you see we are trying to connect. Okay, we are trying to give the username password. Okay, so there are so many things which are there, so I'm providing and the respective explanation is there. After that, I'm trying to provide some password, etc., etc. Okay, afterwards I'm trying to provide some things can be provided. So it's up to us how we can use the command. Okay, but majorly all the commands I'll be taking care of. Okay, let's take one command and try to see how the working of the command it does. Okay, let's try to understand one command. So the command is scoop import. Okay, I'm trying to do a import. Okay, now if you see I was trying to do the list of databases. Similarly, what I can do, I can list the tables also. Okay, but tomorrow we'll see. As of now, I'm just trying to show the variant of writing the syntaxes. Don't worry about what I'm trying to use over here. Just try to understand the syntax or get a familiarity with the syntax. From tomorrow onwards, we'll try to deep dive from the first command itself. Okay, so I'm trying to do a import. Import means from a database to HDFS. Okay, so we write import hyphen hyphen connect. I'm trying to connect with a Jdbc connection to MySQL database on a local host, okay, with port number 3306. So under this MySQL database, I want to connect or I want to read the table from this database. So what I need to provide? I need to provide a database name over here. Okay. So from this database, which is the table I need to import? Okay. So let me use the table that is retail underscore DB and let's say show tables. So let's take an example of categories. I want to import this table. What I'm trying to do, I am importing with my connection as a string from this database. I'm trying to import this table. Then I'm trying to provide my username as a root and password as a root. Sorry, password is Cloudera for this machine. For my Ubuntu is root. Okay, username is root and password is Cloudera. Okay, I've given that. First I will show you this, and there is one more command after this, one more argument. I'll show you that. Okay, so let me just show you this command first. Let's hit this. It is giving me some error. Okay, no issues. Let's try to read that error. So it is telling that import. Okay, so there is like a username typo error. Okay, let me just eradicate that. Let me copy this, let me clear off the screen, and let's hit enter. Okay, this is getting executed. I hope the directory should not be available. Okay, and I think that is the issue which is giving. So let me quickly copy this. So don't worry about this. This I'll show you at a later stage. Means once we start. As of now, let me show you a clear execution and what are the steps it is getting done. So don't worry about this, what I'm trying to do. So just I want to show you what are the things. Can you see now this scoop import I have exported? Can you see my data is being selected from the first table, from the table? That is the first thing. Second thing is there is a minimum and maximum boundary query which is being applied. Okay. Third thing is there is a number of splits which has happened, and the fourth thing is your map reduce task gets executed. Okay. Whenever you execute your scoop commands, we need to remember the four things. Okay. So the data is selected with the select command. Okay. So the data is selected with select command. Selected. Okay. The second thing is min and max. Min and max query is applied. Okay. Min and max query is applied. Third thing is by default number of split of map number of split is 4. Okay, and the mapper and reduce task gets executed. Okay, so these are the few things which happened because internally it converts to a map reduce program. Okay, so if you see, it has retrieved 58 records, which means that the data has been imported. But let's go back and let's try to understand those 4 steps. Okay, the first thing is it is trying to select the data from this table. Okay, that is the first thing which I showed you. Second thing is
why it is coding that only one record?
no, that is just a way of writing the syntaxes. So this is just like a way of writing the syntaxes of when this internally it's getting converted into MapReduce. We do not need to worry about that.
But it will select only one record, no? Because it is limit 1.
No,
It's
not.
not like that.
See, this is as a table. It is, if you see t dot star, all the columns are directed. So from this table, we are just executing this query. So it is just analyzing the syntactical and semantical errors, whether it is able to get connected or not. Okay, so don't worry about this as a table alias and limit as 1, which means that only one record. Rightly said, but no. As of now, it is just trying to execute this and do a syntactical check whether this table is executing or available or not. Otherwise, it will throw an error. The second step, where is the second step? Let me come down. Yeah, this is the second step, and which is a very important step. Okay, so that is the minimum. Let me copy this query. Let me come over here. Let me execute this code. If you see, what is the minimum and what is the maximum? 58. Okay, if you go to the calculator, calc, okay, so 58 divided by 4. Why 4? Because I'm using number of mappers as 4. Can you see, number of splits are 4 and 1 to 58. So what will happen? So this is the second thing, and this is the third thing. So in the number of splits 4, what will happen? Whatever the data which is being fetched with this boundary query will be getting divided into 4 tasks to get the data imported parallelly. So that is where the parallel execution is happening, which is inheriting the performance, which is inheriting from my Hadoop. Okay, so the parallel execution. Okay, and the last thing is map task, map reduce task is getting executed. In the entire Sqoop session, there will be no reduce task will be getting executed. Only one place you will be seeing that reduce are working. Okay, so whenever you are executing, just keep an eye on this. There will be only one scenario wherein your reduce will be coming into picture. I'll show you at that moment of time. Okay, that is the fourth thing. And then you will have all the statistics. If you want to go through the statistics, understand. But this is like, these are the couple of things which are important, which means that my data is being imported. Okay, what is the transferred size per byte? Good to know. Okay, now if you go, okay, now whenever Sqoop imports the data or we execute the command, okay, by default it loads the data or it imports the data into user's home directory. Okay, where it is importing, let me come here. Okay, so by default it will import the data. Let me just make it top. Okay, by default it will import the data in user's home directory. Okay, let's try to see that. Let me come to my one of the terminal. So hdfs dfs -ls, I guess we are good with Unix, we are good with Hadoop command, so I'm using my Hadoop command. Then what is my users directory? User Cloudera. Let's hit enter. Okay, so if I'm trying to enter, so there are a lot of things which I am trying to get, but can you see under user Cloudera, which is nothing but my users directory, there is one directory with the name of, so there is one directory, can you see this? There is one directory with the name of categories, and we have imported this today, 30th September. Let me click on this hdfs dfs -ls, and let's see, under this there will be 4 part files which would be created. Can you see this 4 part files? Why these 4 part files got created? Because we had number of tasks split as 4, and each file either will have 14 or 15 records. Okay, just a equivalent kind of thing. Let's try to see, let's try to go over here. If you see 271, 263 bytes, 266, almost like equivalent distribution of data is happening for a parallel processing. And let's go to any of the part file, hdfs dfs -cat, and see the data. Okay, if you see the data, so I am able to see, if you see there are some 15 records over here. Okay, if you go to the first part file and let's say wc-l, even here I will have the data, but some like 14 records or 13 records. If you see, I'm having 14 records. So what is happening? My data is getting distributed into 4 parts and getting executed parallelly. Okay, so these are the things which happens when you do a Sqoop import. By default it will write your data to a user home directory, which is nothing but user Cloudera. Any questions till here?
Yes, sir. While creating execution, it will calculate the max and min. So based on which column it will create the min and max.
Good question. Always it will take primary column. If your column is not having primary key, it will throw an error which we will see ahead. And at that moment of time, we need to instruct Sqoop, use this column and do your parallel import with -split by option or with -mapper option. We'll try to see at future. But yes, it will throw an error, and to answer your question, it will internally, it is so intelligent so that it will identify your primary key, and on the basis of your primary key, it will try to min-max split into 4 parallel inputs. Got it?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions?
So the split will change according to the primary key of a
Yes.
table.
Yes. If my table is getting changed, and if in my table there is a different primary key, definitely it will change.
Okay, okay.
And let's take a scenario. If you don't want to import with a primary key, if you want to import with another column, you can do that also. There is one argument which we need to provide, and we will see that later. Yeah,
Split is work is suppose column have a unique key.
yeah. If that column is having unique key. Okay. You are talking about this default number of splits to split the data.
Actually, that's unique key have to the one null value, so that's give the error or not give the error.
Uh, I did not get a question. I'm sorry. Can you please come back?
Uh, Actually, I have one column with unique key that
Okay.
have value is a 1, 2, 3 and null,
Okay.
and I have implement to the split. That's give
Okay. So you mean to say your primary key is having a null column.
yeah
So first of all, will that happen?
yeah. That's a give the error or running.
Yeah. See, first of all, your table will not, if your table is having a primary key, okay, which is meaning that it will be not null and not duplicated. So that is your primary key, what you can say, syntax, or it's a working. So if your column is having a primary key, it will never contain null, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
secondly, to answer your question, let's take if a table is not having a primary key, okay, and we are having null column in that particular column. So definitely that will be taken care in a separate part file system. So out of the 4, all the null records will go to one part file. We'll see that scenario. Don't worry.
Okay.
But answer to your first question, a primary key is a column which will never contain which will never be null, and it will never be duplicated. So at first place, your question would get solved.
Okay. Yeah.
Saif, I have a question. So the number of splits is always 4 irrespective of the table size, or it will be getting changed based on the table size.
Yes, we need to decide. Let's take an example. Your files are getting, means like in real projects, the file size are like huge. Or sorry, the table size is like huge. And when you are trying to do import, so it is trying to consume some amount of time. At that moment of time, you need to calculate certain things. What are those things? Like what is the size of the table? The second thing is, what are the number of resources available for your applications, okay? And after what are your resources available, how many sessions you can establish while connecting via Jdbc connection, okay? Because see, it's not that you will be given a lot of connections to connect over the network with Jdbc connection, because it will impact the performance and there are some restrictions. So you need to analyze 3-4 things: the table size, the resources available, how many number of connections are available, and on the basis of that you will have to take a call, what will be my number of splits.
Okay, sir.
Okay, any questions?
Yeah, I mean, to take the decision because in the runtime, because if I schedule the job, So the resources and then the connections will, based on the traffic, it will change.
Right.
So if I want to deploy this as a job, so how can I decide in the runtime?
See, initially you are in your development environment, right? So if
Yes.
you are in development environment, you will be you will be writing your code and you will be testing your code, right? So
Yeah.
when you are executing your code and testing your code, at that moment of time, there will be a question from your side which will be going to the client. What will be your daily load size? What is the data size which we would be getting daily? So these questions will be going to the client, right? So at that moment of time, you will be getting to know what are the number of what is the number of size which I'll be getting daily. So I need to load the data. Let's take an example: 2 GB, 10 GB, 50 GB. I got that number. Now, talking
Yeah.
about the resources and talking about the number of connections, you'll have to communicate with the Hadoop admin people. Okay, so you'll have to communicate with the Hadoop admin people and you'll have to identify what are the number of resources available or allocated to my application. So in your Hadoop cluster, there will be multiple applications running. Let's take an example of HDFC Bank. You are working, we both are working for the same account, which is SDFC, but I am working for a product called loans and you are working for a product called credit cards. Okay, so these are two different applications or two different modules which are running in the same Hadoop cluster. So the resources and the connections which will be assigned to you would be different, and the resources and the connections which will be assigned to me would be different depending on the criticality of the application. So for that, we need to communicate with the Hadoop admin, take those resources, take those clients, and depending on that, we need to configure a number of mappers. And once they are tested in the dev environment, we deploy the code into the SIT or the UAT, we test that. If that is getting executed properly, then we'll be deploying it to the production.
Yes. Yeah. Got it. Clear. Thank you.
Okay, I'll stop the recording.